everyone, a hearty welcome to this online lecture series on Readings on Philosophy of Knowledge offered by the Postgraduate Department of English, Pioneer College. Today, we are going to learn the 7th lesson of the text Demystifying Knowledge, which is titled 300 Ramayanas. This lesson is an excerpt taken from the essay titled 300 Ramayanas, 5 Examples and 3 Thoughts on Translation by A.K. Ramanujan. First of all, we'll learn about the author, and after that, we can have a discussion on this excerpt. A.K. Ramanujan was born in 1929. He was an Indian poet, folklorist, philologist, translator, and playwright. He was a bilingual writer who wrote both in English and Kannada. He affiliated himself with 3 more linguistic cultures, namely Tamil, Telugu, and Sanskrit. A.K. Ramanujan is fondly remembered for his promotion of the local non-standard dialects and their cultural and political potential. A.K. Ramanujan was awarded the Kendra Sahitya Academy Award posthumously in 1999 for the collected poems. The present excerpt, which is prescribed for study, is the introduction of a scholarly essay titled 300 Ramayanas, 5 Examples and 3 Thoughts on Translation, in which he maps the history and spread of the Ramayana across the vast geographical regions of Asia over millenniums. Now let's begin the lesson. The excerpt begins with a question. How many Ramayanas? Is it 300 or 3000? Then it narrates a story which gives an answer to the question. The story goes like this. One day, Rama was sitting on his throne. Accidentally, his ring falls off. When the ring reaches the earth, it makes a hole in the ground and disappears into it. Rama calls his henchman Hanuman. Rama asks Hanuman to go and search for the ring. Hanuman has a power. He can be of any size according to his wish. He can be the tiniest and he can be the biggest. Now Hanuman takes a tiny form and goes into the hall to search for the ring. Hanuman goes into the hall further and finally he reaches the netherworld. The netherworld or the underworld, which is referred to in the Indian classical mythology as Padala Loka or Padal. Finally Hanuman reaches Padal. There he meets a group of women. These women are quite surprised to see Hanuman. They immediately catch Hanuman and put Hanuman on a platter. They think of serving Hanuman as a food item to the king of Netherworld, who is the king of spirits or Bhuda. These women think of serving Hanuman as a food item as part of the Bhut's dinner. Now Hanuman is sitting on the platter without knowing what to do. While this was going on in the netherworld, certain other things were happening in the kingdom of Ayodhya. God Brahma and sage Vasishta come to meet Rama. They want to have a private conversation with Rama. They tell that nobody should come inside while we talk, because they don't want anybody else to listen to their conversation or to interrupt their conversation. Rama agrees. But they insist that a rule should be laid on. What is the rule? If anyone comes inside while they were having the conversation, that person's head should be cut off. This was their demand. And Rama agrees. Now Rama calls his brother Lakshmana and Rama asks Lakshmana to guard the door. That is, if anyone comes inside, Lakshmana should prevent them. Lakshmana agrees and he stands by the door. Now there comes another person, that is sage Vishwamitra. Sage Vishwamitra also comes to meet Rama. He tells Lakshmana that he wants to go inside and he wants to meet Rama because it is very urgent. Then Lakshmana tells him that right now it is not possible because Rama is having a private conversation with some other people and it is very important. Then sage Vishwamitra insists that he wants to go inside. Then Lakshmana informs him that he can allow him only when he gets permission from Rama. Then Vishwamitra asks Lakshmana to go inside and get permission from Rama. Now, Lakshmana tells that only when he can ask for permission only when Rama comes out. This enrages Vishwamitra. Then he says that if Lakshmana doesn't go inside, he will burn down the entire kingdom of Ayodhya with his curse. Now Lakshmana is in a dilemma because he can't go inside as per the rule. He knows what will be the consequence if he gets inside the room. His head would be cut off. And if he doesn't go inside, what will happen? The sage Vishwamitra is going to burn down the entire kingdom of Ayodhya, which means all the living beings or everything in this kingdom would be destroyed. And Lakshmana doesn't want that to happen. So he decides to sacrifice his life. Then finally, he goes inside the room. When Lakshmana entered the room, the private conversation had already come to an end. Actually, Sage Vasishtha and God Brahma came to meet Rama to remind Rama that his incarnation or the purpose of his incarnation is now over. As we know, Rama is the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and they reminded Rama that it is high time you should leave this body and reunite with the gods or rejoin the gods, which means you have to leave this body because the purpose of this avatar or incarnation is now over and you have to go back to your abode. In order to inform Rama about this, Sage Vasishtha and God Brahma came. And now Lakshmana tells Rama that he should be punished. Why? Because he has violated that rule, for which Lakshmana thinks that he deserves the punishment. And what is the punishment? He insists that his head should be cut off. Then Rama says that there is no need for that because their conversation had already come to an end. So there is nothing wrong if Lakshmana comes inside. But Lakshmana says that if Rama doesn't punish him, it will be bringing disgrace to his name. There will be a blot in the name of Rama. Rama always stands for this moral righteousness, and that will be questioned. Lakshmana also reminds Rama that you haven't even spared your wife Sita. You have abandoned her. Lakshmana was an avatar of Shesha or Ananda on whom Lord Vishnu sleeps. That is, Lakshmana is an incarnation of the serpent Shesha on whom Lord Vishnu reclines in the cosmic ocean. Now it is time for Lakshmana to go. So he goes to the river Sarayu and disappears into the flowing waters. That is, Lakshmana relinquishes his body. After Lakshmana relinquished his body, Rama calls upon his followers, including Vibhishana, Sugriva, etc., because he wants to make arrangements for the coronation of his twin sons Lava and Kusha. After that, Rama too enters the river Sarayu and relinquishes his body. While all this were happening in Ayodhya, Hanuman was still in the netherworld. Finally, Hanuman is taken to the king of spirits. Hanuman was repeating the name of Lord Rama. That is, he was chanting the name of Rama as Rama Rama Rama. Now the king of spirits asks Hanuman, "Who are you?" To which Hanuman says, "This is Hanuman." The king of spirits then asks him the purpose of his visit. Then Hanuman said that Lord Rama's ring fell down and he came in search of it. Now the king of spirits shows him a platter on which there were thousands of rings. Finally, this platter is brought in front of Hanuman and the king of spirits asks Hanuman to pick out his Rama's ring from it. When Hanuman looked at the platter, he was surprised because all the rings were looking the same. They were all looking exactly the same. And Hanuman couldn't identify Rama's ring from it. So he said that I am unable to pick out my lord's ring from it. Now the king of spirits says that there have been as many Ramas as there are rings on this platter. which means Rama, who is an incarnation of Vishnu, and once the incarnation of Rama is over, his ring falls off. Which means if Hanuman goes back, he won't find Rama there because Rama's incarnation is now over. And he also adds that this is what happens when the incarnation of Rama is over, his ring falls off and he collects them and keeps them with him. So finally Hanuman leaves the netherworld. This is a story which is mentioned in the beginning of this excerpt. Now, what does this story indicate? This story is narrated to refer to the existence of different versions of Ramayana. The story suggests that there exist different versions of Ramayana. That is, as per the story, for every Rama, there is a Ramayana. According to A.K. Ramanujan, the number of Ramayanas and the range of their influence in South and Southeast Asia are quite surprising or amazing. Then he provides a list of languages in which we can find the story of Rama. He mentions languages like Assamese, Balinese, Chinese, Oriya, Kashmiri, Sanskrit, Prakrit, Telugu, Tamil, Thai, Tibetan, and the list goes on. It is interesting to note that some of these languages have more than one telling of the same story. For example, Sanskrit language contains some 25 or more than 25 telling of the Rama story, and they belong to different narrative versions or different narrative genres like epics, kavyas, ornate poetic compositions, mythological stories, Puranas, etc. If we add plays, dance dramas, etc. in both the classical and folk traditions, the number increases. The number of Ramayana increases. To these, if we add sculptures, bas reliefs, puppet plays, shadow plays, mask plays, etc., the number of Ramayana grows even larger. So from all this, we can understand that there are so many versions of Ramayana. Now, A.K. Ramanujan talks about a scholar. His name is Camille Bulk, who was a Belgian Jesuit missionary who came to India and who was a student of Ramayana. He made a research on this Ramayana, and in the year 1950, he counted 300 Ramayanas. And A.K. Ramanujan also brings in the funny remark made by the 14th century Kannada poet Kumaravyasa. Kumaravyasa once said he chose to write Mahabharata because the cosmic serpent who was upholding the earth was groaning under the burden or weight of the Ramayana poets. This also indicates that there exist numerous versions of Ramayana. Towards the end of this excerpt, A.K. Ramanujan gives credit for the work of the translators and scholars. It is obvious that they made hundreds of tellings of the story possible. It is only because of their contributions that we have these many versions of Ramayana nowadays. We can find all these versions in the different religious traditions, different cultures, and in different languages. And that is where the excerpt ends. Through this essay, A.K. Ramanujan is trying to deconstruct the dominant belief in the existence of an invariant or original text. For example, we may be familiar with Valmiki Ramayana and we think this is the original text or this is the original story of Rama. But according to A.K. Ramanujan, it is dangerous to stick on to one version or a single story. In the essay, he tries to list out the different versions of Ramayana. For example, he talks about Kampa Ramayana, Ramacharita-manas, Adhyatma Ramayana, and he also mentions the Jain telling of Rama story and the Thai version of Rama story, which is known as Ramakriti or Rama King, etc. His chief argument is that what is considered as original is merely one telling which is specific to one culture. and this is established as the original as per the interests of the time and the needs of social hierarchy. This is what A.K. Ramanujan argues throughout the essay 300 Ramayanas, 5 examples and 3 thoughts on translation. Hope it is clear to you. Thank you. Now let's discuss the short answer questions. Question number 1. How did many Ramayanas come into being? Answer. The story narrated in the excerpt suggests that for every Rama there is a Ramayana. Many versions of Ramayana came into being through the tellings and retellings of the story. The translators, scholars, performers, etc. might have helped the story reach different parts of the world, crossing the linguistic and cultural barriers. Question number 2. What was Hanuman looking for? Why? Answer. Hanuman was looking for Rama's ring because Rama asked him to find it. Question number 3. What did Hanuman actually find? Answer. Hanuman found thousands of rings on the platter brought by the king of spirits. Thank you.